Yeah, that's the best I can come up with this week. Hello everyone, and welcome again to another Tutorial Tuesday with me, your host, Gerrie, for the guys who are new or do not know me, or don't want to be my friends. And in this week's video, we will be going through how you guys can do a time-lapse, and basically what a time-lapse is, and a bit more of the theory behind how a time-lapse works, because yeah, time-lapse does have some math in it. Yeah, so you think you were escaping high school math? No. But don't worry, I promise you it's quite easy and simple to work out. So first things first, what is a time-lapse? Well, a time-lapse is basically what it says in the name. It's a lapse of time. So a time-lapse basically is the same idea of slow motion, but obviously the opposite of it. Time-lapse is us trying to see things happening in our time or in real time that happens much slower in the real world. For example, a tree growing, or a plant blooming, or paint drying. Yeah, I've watched paint dry before. Lockdown's been long. So how does a time-lapse work more theoretically? Well, or how we see a time-lapse come together. Basically, it works the same as, for example, stop animation or any video you might watch, where we see a moving image at 24 frames per second, which equates to 1 second equals 24 images in succession playing back. So obviously a time-lapse, every 24 photos equals to 1 second of footage. Yes, I know there's 30 frames per second and YouTube has the 60 frames per second you can watch stuff back at, but the industry standard or general rule of thumb is 24 frames equals 1 second. So now that's out of the way, and so let's say you want to set up your time-lapse. You'll set your camera settings, you'll say your shutter speed is 50, blah, 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 all that stuff. But then you'll have to work out how long between shots, the duration between shots you'll have to wait. So this you'll set with what's called the intervalometer. Well, it was an old bulky thing that you set manually, but these days everything is built into the camera, and some cameras actually do process a video already out for you, so it makes your job much easier. But personally, I like to keep the images and have the raw files, and I'll get to why in just a second. So you'll decide the duration of each photo. So maybe you want to take a photo every 5 seconds, every 10 seconds, 20 seconds, and so forth. And this will equate to how long of a time you want to shorten down. So let's say in 10 seconds you want to do an hour, you'll work that out. And you can work it out by using this little formula here. But basically by using this formula, you'll be able to work out how many photos you can take in a certain amount of time. So yes, 24 frames equals 1 second. So if you work the math out, 5 seconds will work out to 120 images. 10 seconds will work out to 240, and then yeah, 480, you can work out the rest of that. So okay, so why would you want to take photos instead of just, putting your camera on record and, let it roll? It sounds like much less effort and it sounds much easier to set up. Well, there's really good reasons why. First of all, video is going to child for your battery and your storage, for the reason that you're doing a shoot for more than hours and hours, and most cameras do have a record limit of about 30 minutes or 29 minutes and a few seconds. Yeah, it's so weird. And the thing is, your files are going to be massive in terms of video, and you're going to struggle to play that back at a time-lapse speed. Whereas with a proper time-lapse where you take photos, it's much less data, power consumption on your camera and your batteries, and if you do raw photography or raw images for your time-lapse, you have that benefit of editing your photos and fixing your photos in post. So great to put back together later. So that's why it's better to do photos in terms of video for doing a time-lapse. There is something called hyperlapses where the camera moves while doing a time-lapse, but today we're just going to keep it basic with doing time lapses. So if you guys want to see that and how that's done, leave a comment below and we can make that happen for you guys. But without further ado, let's jump into what I've done for you guys.
It's not a game, it's a rich thing.
So that's how it came out. And the nice thing as well that I forgot to mention is the fact if you're doing images and photos, you have a much bigger resolution that you can play with than with having video. So a few key things to note before you just grab your camera and go and do time lapses. And this is stuff I've learned by myself or seen other people do, and just general tips and tricks. First thing I would advise is get a nice sturdy tripod. If you're shooting in windy conditions or, you know, a lot of movement stuff and there's stuff happening, you want a sturdy tripod to keep your camera in place so it doesn't move while doing time lapses, because that can get very jarring. Second thing, I personally like to put my shutter speed a bit slower for the reason because you get that nice smooth motion blur and it looks much more nicer than very hard jaggy type of images you will get or movement that you will get at the end of the day. Third thing is you definitely want more than one battery in your camera bag. Obviously that's general a rule of thumb, but because you're shooting images constantly and the camera is constantly on, yeah, it chows the battery quite bad. If you have a battery pack or, you know, an extra battery grip for your camera, throw the extra batteries in, but always have an extra charge battery by your side. And another two very important tips. Put your camera on electronic shutter over mechanical shutter. Big reason is if you don't and you use your mechanical shutter, it's going to shoot up your shutter count. And this is kind of important when you want to replace your camera or sell your camera secondhand and the shutter count's high, and it just means you're going to have to send in your camera more frequently to be serviced. So put it on electronic shutter, you still get very good image quality out of it, and yeah, and it also saves your battery as well if you want to do long time lapses. Turn the back of your screen off when you're doing time lapses. This also helps you to shoot for much longer and have a much longer time lapses. This is a bit more applicable to the mirrorless cameras of these days, and we know mirrorless batteries do not last as long as the good old DSLRs. Because everything is much more internal and much more electronic than the older cameras. Yeah, if you have an old Nikon somewhere that you don't use that to do your time lapses with. It should have intervalometer built in. So to sum up, if you want to work out how long you want to time lapse, use this little formula that I've provided. This should give you a good estimate of how it will work. I know most new cameras will tell you how long it will take, but this is just kind of a nice thing to have and to use if you're planning out your shoot. Have a nice subject matter with nice movements, because that will give you a very aesthetically pleasing time lapse at the end of the day. And yeah, just have fun and play around and see what you can create with it. Time lapse doesn't have to be restricted by landscapes or stars or stuff like that. Go experiment, see something that you would like to see move in real time that you find moves very slow, and go and play with that. So everyone, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope I'll see you in the next one. Remember to like, subscribe, comment what you guys would like to see next, or what you guys would like to see us do, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye. This is where you fade me out, by the way.